There are 3,112 billionaires in the world as of 2023. The way a billionaire sees life is very different from anything you've ever seen or heard, and it will probably go against a lot of what you believe. Here are 15 truths that only the richest people know. First, you don't usually own all of your business when it's worth $1 billion. 12.7% of Amazon is owned by Jeff Bezos. 13% of Tesla is owned by Elon Musk. 46% of LVMH is owned by Bernard Arnault. 16% of Berkshire Hathaway is owned by Warren Buffett, and 35% of Oracle is owned by Larry Ellison. You know what I mean. Most millionaires protect their shares. They watch their stocks like hawks, but they don't realize that by doing so, they're holding themselves back from rising up faster in less time. This should wake you up. Owning 8% of a multi-billion-dollar pie is a lot better for your money than owning 100% of a business that's worth $20 million. The second thing that will make you a millionaire is real estate. But you become a billionaire through private equity. Real estate is seen as a game for stupid millionaires. This is a running joke among the very rich. Even if you can't think of anything else to do, you can make $1 million in real estate. Ask any millionaire, and they'll tell you nearly half of their net worth is in real estate. Ask any billionaire, and you'll quickly learn that business interests and private equity make up more than 70% of their net worth. Owning a business is the best way to make more money and add to your net worth. Blow it up, and then use the money to buy bits of other businesses and start over. Third, don't spend your own money. Use someone else's money to make money for yourself. You can make your way to $1 million. There are a lot of jobs where, if you work hard, put in the time, and keep getting checks, you can make 7 figures. Doctors, lawyers, tech workers, and engineers all make a lot of money from their salaries. But you can't get to $1 billion the same way. Your financial life opens up vertically when you learn you can use other people's money to get rich. Here's how most billionaires do it. First, they tell their friends, family, banks, and angel investors about their idea and say that they are ready to do whatever it takes to make it happen. To start the business and give away 20% of it, they need $100,000. This is worth $500,000 to the company. Even though we just started, their 80% of this new business is already worth $400,000. Step 2. They start making money and build a team that is ready to grow. Let's say that the company is now making $1 million per year in recurring income. Step 3. Then they find outside partners and sell 20% of the business for $10 million. This gives them $2 million in cash and makes the other 60% of the business worth $6 million. Use that $2 million to go from having no regular income to having $10 million a year. Step 5. You guessed it. You go again to raise money, this time at a value of $100 million. To get that $20 million, you sell 20% more of the business. The 40% you still have is worth $40 million at this point. Step 6. You use that $20 million to make a product for other companies and hire salespeople. This makes your ongoing income go through the roof, and in just 2 years, your business is ready to go public. Step 7. You file for an IPO, in which 10% of the company's shares are sold on the public market for $10 billion. You and everyone who has ever put money into your business are now each worth $1 billion. At every step of this journey, you used money from other people to grow, hire people, make new goods, and get more sales. With each of these changes, the value went up. Before you dismiss what we just said as bunk, you should be aware that UiPath used this condensed model to go public at a $35 billion valuation. 4. Everything is a case of buy low, sell high. Just the scales are different. Some billionaires trade in things like metals, coffee, and other goods. Others make money by shipping goods where the cost of gas, people, and transportation is less than what someone else is willing to pay you to bring it. Others trade in risk and debt. Attention and views are what tech and media companies buy and sell. Buy cheap and sell expensive. Use the money you make to keep making it bigger and bigger. Once you realize that every business is about buying low and selling high, you start to look at yours differently. If you want to be wealthy, you need to do 2 things well. 1. How much your markup is, and 2. How big your scale is, or how many deals you can do. As an online shop, Amazon has a very small profit margin, but it does a lot of business. Tesla makes a lot of money and has a good amount of transactions. One of three things can happen for a business to grow. 1. You raise the prices but keep the number of deals the same. This style is used by artists. 2. You keep your prices the same, but when fast food chains open new spots, you get more customers. And 3rd, you raise the prices while making more deals. This is how luxury brands work, and it's what made Bernard Arnault the richest person in the world. Most billionaires know that once you move up the scale, you have a lot of power when it comes to discussing how cheap you can buy something. Only billionaires know that you make money when you buy something, not when you sell it. 5. Art is a good way to store money that is easy to move around. When you're that rich, most of your money is in stocks, other businesses, or hard-to-move assets. You don't want to keep it in cash because at that scale, inflation causes cash to lose between 5% and 10% of its value every year. So where do people with a lot of money go? Art? Yes, they buy a lot of art, and then either rent it out to museums around the world or lock it up in shipping containers and use it as a bargaining chip. It is much easier to move $500 million worth of art than it is to move $500 million worth of gold or silver. Most people don't know that investing in blue-chip art is one of the best ways to make money. Fine art is often called the billionaire's asset, and for good reason. In fact, blue-chip art not only does very well in high inflation situations, like the one we're in right now, but it has always done better than the S&P 500. A recent groundbreaking study by UBS found that 62% of ultra-high net worth investors put 30% or more of their financial portfolios into art and collectibles. We know exactly what you're thinking. Damn these very wealthy people for being able to invest in ways that most people just can't. Today, number 6 stocks and luck will not get you to $1 billion. When you have a long time to invest and a lot of money to start with, stocks are a good choice. Back in the day, there was a popular piece of financial advice that said if you just put $5 a day into the stock market from the time you were 20 until you were 65, you would become a millionaire. And yes, okay, we get it. The numbers add up. But the market changes, and so do prices. These financial models tell a fancy story that is all on the surface, and we think they do more harm than good. What we mean is as follows. In 1958, Warren Buffett paid $31,500 for his house. Taking inflation and market value into account, that same house costs about $877,000 today. After 60 years, that house cost 28.3 times more than it did then. It's the same nice old house, and there aren't any new bedrooms. Take a minute to think about this. Just by sitting still, the house has done almost as well as skilled investors. If you keep saving $5 a day, you'll have $1 million when you retire, but that won't buy you much. The same goes for luck. You might get lucky and end up with $1 million, but it's a whole different game to go from $1 million to $1 billion. 7th, each new billionaire makes other millionaires also become billionaires. Remember the example of using other people's money? Every new billionaire has people who believe in them enough to open their pockets. Peter Thiel was the first investor from outside Facebook when it was just starting out. He put up $500,000. In return, he got 10.2% of the business. When Facebook went public, he sold 2/3 of the shares he had bought for $500,000. He made $628 million. Gary Tan, who is a friend of the channel and CEO of Y Combinator, was the first person to invest in Coinbase in 2013. This $300,000 investment turned out to be worth $2.4 billion. Anywhere you go in Silicon Valley, you hear stories like this. Make money first and then use it to back businesses that look good. One of them could be the next Airbnb. Number 8, less than 5% of their worth is liquid. People think that the rich keep things for themselves. People think that Scrooge McDuck jumping into a room full of gold coins when they hear of the word billionaire. But almost all of them are made of paper. Billionaires are people who own shares in companies that are worth more than $1 billion. On paper, the value of the properties is the same. Less than 5% of a billionaire's wealth is usually kept in cash. And if they do need money, they don't sell their belongings. Instead, they go to banks, show them the paper that says they're worth X amount, and use that as protection for low-interest loans. The bank gives them a line of credit, and they use it to buy more things that bring in money. Elon didn't sell his shares in Tesla or SpaceX to pay for Twitter. He got the money to buy it from the bank. Most billionaires know that you don't have to pay taxes on loans, so they'd rather borrow that money by putting up their assets as security. 9. You make the most money when things go wrong. Most people don't see the world the same ways that billionaires do. The poor measure their lives in days, the middle class in months, the upper class in quarters, the rich in years, and the super rich in decades. People laughed at Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, because it hasn't done well for the past 10 years. They also made fun of his big cash position, which has lost value because of inflation. But Warren and Munger did nothing but sit on cash and wait. They didn't mind losing 1% to 3% of their money each year, because when the recession hit, they were able to buy companies for 50% to 75% less than they were worth. Recessions are like the Black Friday of the decade for people with a lot of money. They are sales on everything you really want. One of their secrets is that you don't pay attention to the day-to-day. Instead, you make 2 or 3 plays every 10 years that are good for growth. 10th, they all had and still have experts who know how to reduce risks and boost profits. There's no such thing as a billionaire who made all their money on their own, at least not in the way that most people think of them. You need to know that almost everything else is taken care of so that you have the time and mental room to focus on exponential growth. You find great accounting firms to reduce all financial risk. You find great law firms to cut down on all your risks. Great managers and CEOs take a company to the next level slowly but surely. You have to rely on and accept the knowledge of other people to get to the next level. All these billionaires surround themselves with experts who can tell them when and how to prepare for turning points. These people are called executive coaches, and every big CEO has a couple of them on their board. At this level, they cost between a few $100,000 and a couple of $1 million per year. Their job is to help the CEO stay on track and think clearly, much like how a coach helps professional players train and get ready for a big game. Just think about how amazing it would be to have access to one of these world-class great coaches. 11th, there aren't many billionaires who sell directly to consumers. The most money comes from business deals. You might not know this, but Amazon's direct-to-consumer service doesn't actually make money. Instead, Amazon's AWS cloud infrastructure business is making over $80 billion per year and growing by 35% from year to year. In income, Amazon servers now handle almost everything on the internet. A company is more likely to pay you $100 a month for each employee who uses your service. Here's something you might not know that's interesting. Most people can use Gmail for free, but as a business have to pay Google per month for every business email they have. Google's cloud service now brings in $6.3 billion every 3 months. This is a business worth $25 billion a year. Know that it takes the same amount of work to convince a person to buy as it does a business. Even though it's still just one sale, the difference in money is big. Most of you could earn 10 to 50 times more than you do, but you're putting your time and energy into the wrong things. The majority of billionaires didn't start out at the bottom. It takes a lot of hard work to be financially successful in any way. These people have worked hard to get where they are, but the situation was usually a little bit better for them than you might think. Most of them came from wealthy families and had access to good schools, facilities, and a safety net in case they failed, so they could put everything on the line a few times. Elon's dad was a real estate developer who made a lot of money and married a model. Jeff Bezos' money came from his parents who gave him $250,000. Bill Gates' mom comes from a family with a lot of money. We could keep going. Most people take years to go from having no money to having $250,000 in the bank. You also have an advantage because you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from. Amazing things have been done by all of them. So if you have access to education, a gadget to watch this video on, and access to Twitter and LinkedIn, you can reach out to practically any professional in the world. Please know that you're not starting from the bottom either. People who don't have a phone or the internet are at the bottom. But if you want something more divisive, here it is. Number 13. Most business moguls get rich by using slave labor in places you can't see, and most people don't seem to care. The laptop or phone. You're watching this on your electric cars, bikes, drones, smart TVs, and other electronic devices. All of them use cobalt. Here's a current picture of what's supposed to be an industrial cobalt mine in the Congo. Industrial is the key word here, because official documents from all of the big tech companies say that no one should be digging in these cobalt mines. The average adult who digs cobalt out of the ground makes less than $2 a day. They prefer to use kids for this kind of work because they're smaller and cost less, and none of this information is new. As a developed society, we enjoy the benefits that technology gives us because we don't know what it takes to make, put together, and ship something to you. And it's not just in the tech business. The International Labor Organization says that about 170 million children work in factories. Even though they aren't old enough to work in the fashion business in a sustainable way, children are picking cotton and moving pollen in the fields for little or no pay. That's how fast fashion and super fast fashion can sell you these items at such low prices. Number 14. Almost all of them are obsessed with money and success in a selfish way. Here's what's true. You'll have to give up almost everything else in your life to get to that level of wealth. So you have to really, really want it. You don't have any friends or family. You don't have any time to spend with the kids. You're very competitive and you move a lot. You don't get a good night's sleep for years. And the amount of stress you're going to go through is unlike anything anyone else has ever felt. The way their brain works is different. They have a different view of life and see it as a set of building blocks. Life will give you one wish, but you have to figure out what it is and be completely obsessed with it for decades. I don't think many people can really do that. Number 15. There are only 2 billionaire tier skills: making decisions and persuasion. A top executive's job is to make a small number of important decisions that have big benefits. You get paid based on what percentage of the time you make the right choice. Many people think that Warren Buffett is the best investor in the world because he regularly makes high-level decisions that make investors a lot of money. Every choice you make gets more important as you move up the ladder. Persuasions, which means sales and clear communication, is probably the most useful skill when you're just starting out. People will have to trust you enough to work with you to make a product. You will have to convince people to buy your goods and convince investors to back your business. Even if you don't know how to build something with the right level of skill, you will be able to convince someone else to build it for you in exchange for a piece of that prize. As you move up in the company, there's always someone new you need to persuade to do something that will help you and the company in the long run. If you only remember one thing from this whole video, let it be this: make decisions more carefully. And you can do this because learning mental models is like going to the gym for your mind. The second is learning to talk eloquently and persuade others to join you in your mission. We don't think the word selling does a good job of describing what you need to do. If you thought today's video was helpful, please give us a like and click that bell.